All right, I'm going to go to the rendering dialog box now. And the rendering dialog box looks pretty much the same, right? There are some new things, some new features. When I bring up the rendering dialog box, it shows the rendering that I've done last, right? This is the last rendering I've done. Still need work on the water, but we can show you some of the new things. One of the things I wanted to kind of point out here, I still have my render here, and I have my fast preview in here as well. Now, I never liked fast preview with Luxology because it took a long time for Luxology to render some of these things, and you still have to sit and wait for rendering. Now, the fast preview means that while this was rendering, if I changed the material, it would actually start re-rendering right away. It constantly rendered for you. So I didn't really use it that much in Luxology. I find it a big help now in VUE because it only takes 5 minutes to render something like this. This one took 13 minutes because I messed up my water. But still, as compared to the detail that you get in the 22 minutes that I did in Luxology, sometimes those could have taken 45 minutes. What I wanted to point out here too, we still have our light setup just like we had before. So the light manager is still exactly the same. We can still do the light setup. We have our atmospheres here. These are the atmospheres that we've delivered. You see, we've delivered quite a few atmospheres, and you can edit these atmospheres and change them a little bit, but I can't create new ones inside of MicroStation. So those are the ones that used to be called environment in V8i. And then we have our rendering settings. These are kind of the same here. We've just kind of adjusted some of the settings as far as size of the pixels and denoising and stuff like that. We still deliver these exterior best, better, and extreme, exterior good, and then the interior shots as well, and have set those up for you here. So you can still go into that dialog box and get the render setup. This hasn't changed all that much. But I can inside here tell it to ignore the default lighting, which I like to do. Make sure that we want to do shadows, turn depth of field on if you want depth of field. And then the samples is the big thing. The path tracing samples, the higher the samples, the longer the rendering, but the finer the output. So you can still pick those the same way that you've done. The light manager, like I said, is the same exact way that it is. I can still come in here to solar, right? And I can still set my solar position like I had before. Volume effects are here. I don't think volume effects are available anymore. We're going to do that through atmospheres now, but volume effects, we have to keep that there for legacy data. We just don't want to take it away. And if you have old renderings in there that you set up lighting or volume effect, it might cause problems with that file. So, but as far as the solar position and the individual light, they're the same, exactly the same. All right. Now, one of the cool things here about my rendering dialog box, I've got the save image right here, so I can save this image to a JPEG. Very, very simple. I can also view my previous renderings down here at the bottom, the lower left-hand corner. There's a little arrow here, and these are all my previous renderings here. So I can click on those previous renderings and bring those up in the screen and take a look at those and see what I like or what I don't like about it, what I want to change or what I don't want to change. More importantly here too is I wanted to kind of point out relighting and NPR. So I did an interior scene here of a lobby, and I want to bring that up. And it's a nice photorealistic rendering. Looks really, really nice. I did this in the VUE rendering engine. Some of you might recognize this as something that Jerry Flynn has done before. I got this from Jerry. But when I rendered it, so what happens is before I render, I have to turn on the relighting box or the NPR box, whichever one I want to use, because it prepares this JPEG or this rendering to be used in relighting. And that's exactly what I did, is that I used relighting when I did this and NPR when I did this initial rendering. So I can still get back to this photorealistic rendering, but you see the arrow right over here on the side? It's kind of hidden. Took me a while to find that, but if I expand that a little bit, I can do relighting right here. I can tell if I didn't turn these two dialog boxes on, these two check boxes on, I would not get anything over here on this arrow, right? But I can do rendering. For instance, I can turn on lights and turn off lights here around the pillar. You can see the lights popping on there. And I can also adjust the intensity of the lights. I can turn it down and I can turn it up. So setting of 1 is going to be whatever setting I had in set for that light, right? A setting of 1. If I want to increase the intensity, I can increase the intensity. And you're going to see that it actually illuminates the whole room when I do that. So that's kind of cool. I can turn lights on and off. So every light that I have created in this scene inside of my MicroStation comes up here in the relighting, and I can turn them on and off and adjust the intensity of it. Okay. Now the NPR effect. All right, so the NPR effect, I can just say apply. Now, this is going to take a little while to render, but I can do that. I can just click on apply NPR effects on the rendered image. Again, remember, I have to have this dialog box checked in order for it to do this. But I'm going to turn on my NPR effects, and it's going to take on this setting right here. You can kind of see that it's re-rendering down here at the bottom, but you can see that it's really, really fast. It's something that I can actually talk to. I've never been at a loss for words in user group meetings, but I can get this out of that rendering. Absolutely fantastic. I can come in here and I can adjust my line weights here. I can adjust the type of thing that I want to do. Like, see here, I kind of like the Japanese printmaking. And it's going to have to go through that rendering process. I don't have to re-render that whole thing. I don't have to wait. Well, again, it's only 5 minutes, but this takes less than a minute. I mean, it takes about 30 seconds to do that. And I can get a nice little watercolor there. I can come in here and I can adjust the line weights here. So if I want to go down to a 2 as far as my line weights is concerned, right, it's going to re-render that. And I'm going to have finer lines here with my outlines. Again, there we go. It looks a little bit nicer. And if I want to go back to my photorealistic rendering, I just turn this off and it's going to go back to my photorealistic rendering, just like that. Very good. NPR, right? Non-photorealistic rendering and relighting. So as you can see, we've added a lot of things here inside of the MicroStation, but we've tried to keep things the same. I know we always freak our customers out when we say, hey, we got something new. But you can see here, I think one of the most important things to take out of this is that we are not really changing your workflow at all. We're changing materials. We're changing the VUE rendering engine. We're changing lighting a little bit. But the way you assign them, the way that you interact with them, the way that you use them inside of MicroStation is still primarily the same, right? So you don't have to learn everything all over again. There's a couple new things here that you have to learn, but a majority of the stuff that we have is assigned and done the same exact way as in VAI. All right, I hope you like what I showed you here.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.